right, let's go ahead and call the meeting of the Waco MPO Policy Board of May 16, 2024 to order at 1:30 p.m. MPO staff, has this meeting been duly posted?
Yes.
And let's call Waco City Council into session as well, given that 3 or more are gathered. And we will move on. Do we have any, we will provide an opportunity for the public to address the MPO Policy Board on any agenda item. Please complete a speaker's registration card with MPO staff. Speakers will be allotted one presentation at the beginning of the agenda for each agenda item the speaker wishes to address. Please note that each action item will have a separate public hearing later in the agenda. Speakers have the option of addressing the board at either time, but you will only be allowed one opportunity to address the board per agenda item. If we have anyone that would like to leave any comments in Espanol, we've got some staff members that could take those comments, although our translator is not present here today. MPO staff, do we have any registered speakers?
No.
Okay, we will then move on to agenda item number 3 and consider approval of the minutes of the April 18th and April 29th policy board meetings. A copy of those meeting minutes were provided in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections to the minutes as submitted? All right, hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. We will then move on to agenda item 4, consideration and action regarding approval of resolution. I do want to make one board note, though. A hearty congratulations to now Mayor Jim Holmes of the City of Waco. God bless.
Thank you, continue to serve on MPO.
That's right. Appreciate that continued dedication. Consideration and action regarding approval of resolution 2024-8, adoption of fiscal year 2025-2028 transportation improvement program, otherwise known as the TIP. Dr. Kumar.
So thank you. So this is the transportation improvement program, and the time frame that we're working on at this point is 2025 to 2028. And as you recall, that our transportation improvement program, it lays out the phased implementation of all the improvements and the projects that we will be considering for construction over the 4-year time frame. And it lists all the reasonably significant improvement that were already identified in our MTP, the long range transportation plan. And these are also the projects that have already been designed, environmentally cleared, and right of way acquisition may be in progress for some of these projects. And these projects are fully financially constrained. And so we have to have full commitment of funding of 100% within the time frame of 2025 to 2028. We typically develop this program every 2 years, and we amend them annually and sometimes as they are needed. The reason why they overlap, even though these are 4-year program, is because we want to make sure that we are accounting for any delays or any change in the construction or implementation, or sometimes scope of work themselves change a bit, or project limits. And if the costs also change in any significant way, we want to account for them through the new TIP every 2 years. And so let's move to the projects. So at this point in time, in the construction phase of highway projects that we're listing in the current MTP of 2025-2028, I-35 4C that we are expecting for construction to begin in the fiscal year of 2025, the Twin Bridges in 2025, Spur 298 in FY26, and the State Highway 6 widening at McLaughlin in fiscal year 2027. And so for these, the total amount of Category 2 funds are $121.2 million, which is 32.6% of the total project cost of $371.4 million. We are removing the project of State Highway 31 at FM 2311 because it is scheduled to let for construction in the current fiscal year of 2024. And so this will be earlier than the time frame we are considering at this point. Next slide. In the same TIP, the projects that are in the preliminary engineering and right-of-way acquisition phase, they totaled $18.4 million, and here are the projects that we are listing. The committed funding, there is no committed funding on these projects as we speak now, but our expectation is that these projects will have funding allocated to them after the year 2029. And so East Loop 340, US 84 to 484, US 84, Hewitt Drive to Lake Air, Watts Interchange, McGregor Bypass, Bluebird Parkway to Mother Neff Parkway, and also FM 434, which is the University Park Drive from LaSalle to Garden Drive. Next slide. We also list the categorical, which are the grouped highway project, and these grouped highway projects, we do not list them individually, and all the projects in the grouped category are projects that lead to preventive maintenance and rehab, safety, bridge replacement, landscape development, bike pedestrian, and also carbon reduction program. These are what the grouping of these projects do for us is that it allows TxDOT greatest flexibility in moving the projects around what fits according to the letting schedule and such. We do provide an illustrative list in our tip just to make sure that some of the projects that are being considered, we have an idea of what these projects look like in Appendix F of our tip. Next slide. On public transportation portion of it, we have projects totaling $33.7 million. The Waco Transit is our urban area provider, and all the projects listed relate to preventive maintenance, ADA expenses, operating expenses, short-range planning, as well as passenger amenities. We intend to group the public transportation projects. Next slide. And these are 5339A funds, which typically range about 500 to 600,000 a year. And also Waco Transit received a discretionary low, no emission grant, which is 5339C category for $3.13 million, and so from this tip, we have the option of grouping them together, and which again allows for greater flexibility, not only on the part of TxDOT to schedule these projects, but also when the projects are drawn, there is higher level of flexibility according to the need. And so we plan to group them in this current tip. Next slide. And so the total values on these are preventive maintenance, total federal funds are $6.45 million, and which is 80% of the total funds, which is $8.07 million, ADA expenses 40%, operating expenses 50%, short-range planning at 80%, passenger amenities at 80%. Overall, it's 60% of the total fund that is being programmed in the current tip comes from federal sources, and 40% is the local contribution. Next slide. In the Appendix D of the tip, we typically list all the highway improvement projects that are under development, but they do not have any specific financial commitment at this point. What it does is that it allows TxDOT to begin the environmental clearance, right-of-way acquisition, or any other federal approvals that might be needed short of construction. And these projects will still require a subsequent either tip amendment, or they'll require to be added to the subsequent tip that we produce. So typically at this point in time, these are the projects that you noticed earlier also, that these are the short-term highway project from 2045 MTP that we're adding to Appendix D is the North Loop 340, I-35 to Union Pacific Railroad overpass, and the short-term highway projects from our current 2045 MTP that are retained in the Appendix D are East Loop 340, US 84, Hewitt to Lake Air, Watts Interchange, McGregor Bypass, the US 317 Bluebonnet to Mother Neff Parkway, and the University Parks Drive. So we had the period of March 31 to April 29 at the solicitation of public comments. We did not receive any formal comment. We had the public information meeting twice on April 9th, one at 12 at noon and also at 5:30. The Technical Advisory Committee reviewed and made its recommendation on May 2nd, and the Technical Advisory Committee has recommended an adoption. And so now for today's meeting on May 16th, we have public hearing and the policy board action schedule.
Any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, well, let's open the public hearing at 1:39. Do we have any registered speakers or anyone else interested in speaking?
We do not have registered speakers.
Okay, we will close it here. We'll take the clock ticked a minute to 1:40 p.m. Any questions for staff or any comments before we get going with the vote? Okay, is there a motion to adopt the resolution, the tip draft?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Bell, second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it, passes unanimously. And we will now move to update discussion regarding results of the 2023 Waco MPO Enhanced Planning Review. Dr. Kumar.
So at this point in time, not introduce first, I want to recognize that Barbara Maley, if you can stand up and please. Barbara has been wonderful support for Waco MPO for well over a decade, to the point that neither she and none of us know how long has she been working with us. And so, but it is certainly a lot longer than that. And in fact, Barbara has very deep roots to Waco, where she grew up. And if I remember correctly, you served as the director of Waco MPO at one point in time as well. And so Barbara has very long connection with us, and she's handing the baton over to Babatunde Tagbobo, who is here. And so he's presenting to us the results of the enhanced planning review. And we also wanted to take this opportunity to introduce him to the policy board, and the policy board to him.
Let's all recognize Barbara for her wonderful service. Marty, welcome.
I'm going to start by thanking the board chair for allowing us to be on this agenda. We are very grateful on behalf of FTA and FHWA. We are very grateful for that. Yeah, permit me again to introduce again Barbara, I could call her my senior colleague. She's been so fabulous, putting me through all this for the past few months that I've taken this over from her. Barbara, thank you for doing this for us. Thank you, I appreciate you. Yeah, myself, I think I needed a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Babatunde Tagbobo. Originally, I started from New York State DOT for 14 years before I joined the FTA for 1 year. And BAM, last year, FHWA acquired me. So I want to use that language. So I've been with the FHWA for the past 10 months now, and I've been privileged to be part of this group. Next slide. So basically what we are trying to do is just to give you an overview of what you guys did right and you did not do right. And to be honest with you, from the report, I am going to give good news, and good news. So while the Title 23 Highway Code does not necessarily require non-TMA to do certification review, but in our own way, from FHWA, we want you guys to have an idea of what's going on and how the process work out. Again, this is not like really something that you have to do, but we are doing this just to encourage you, and I will give you a reason why we are doing this. Next slide. Yeah, the reason why we are doing this with you guys is to really make you guys to understand what the process is all about. That is, we want to have like contact with the MPO, see what is going on, talk to them, one-on-one discussion and all that. The second reason why we're doing the joint planning review, and by the way, the joint planning review is done with the FTA, that is both FHWA and FTA are jointly doing this together. Again, the reason why we're doing this again is to support the federal statewide transportation improvement program finding, so that when you guys want to submit your tip, you have something to really work on. Another reason why we're doing this with you is just if you needed a technical assistance, needed a training as MPO, to be able to know and be able to assist you. Another reason why we're doing this is for us to review compliance. Are you guys compliant with the federal rules and regulation and all that? That's the reason why we are conducting the planning review. And Another reason why this is so important to us is for us to have an idea of the best practice here so that we can share that with the other people out there. Next slide. For typical joint planning review, who are the people that are involved? One, we have the FTA, FHWA liaison like myself, and I'll be sharing the FTA guy with you too in the subsequent slide. We have our technical staff from the FHWA in Austin, like the engineer, the environmental guys, just for us to have an idea. If you guys have issue with your project, you'll be able to bring them up and then coordinate with them to achieve best stuff for you guys. And test.2, we allow them to be part of this process so that they can give us idea of what's going on locally. Remember, most of the time, FHWA wants deal directly with the test.2 people so that we can get idea of what's going on locally. Then we have the transit agents rep that's part of this process. And of course, the Waco MPO is major stakeholder as far as joint planning review is concerned. Next slide. Now, joint planning review is FHWA thing, and I have to emphasize that. What joint planning review is not intended to supplement the routine review by TPP, meaning that we are not doing this to replace the TestDOS overview of the project that you guys have here on the board. We're doing this just to supplement that.
If we become TMA, or if we achieve TMA status in the next census period, will we still go through the joint planning review process like this? Because we're kind of right on the line.
Right. The joint planning review this is just like for the TMA, non-TMA. If you guys get to the TMA status, it's certification review. And again, it's still joint review with the FTA too. But the only thing is that you guys have a population more than 200 and you won't below 50,000.
Okay, thank you.
Next one. Now, what are the actual activities that usually took place during the course of this certification review? And again, like the chair said, if again you now get to the TMA status, it's still going to follow the same process. Otherwise, it's just the same, actually the same, but more intense than what we have right now. So the desk audit is about we reviewing quite a number of items, liaising with the executive director MPO in Waco. And actually we reviewed over 25 items, if I have to be very precise, for this audit. We review your plans, we review items that are relevant. Even in our office, we make sure that we go through this before coming down for site visit. So the second part of the audit is the site visit that I wasn't here that time, Barbara handled that part, that we start with you guys, start with the board, start with the community members, discuss with them and have idea of what's going on. That part is what we call the site part. And after the site visit and meeting, mostly what we do is to write report. And if I can be precise, the site visit for this particular audit, particular review came up, I think November 17 of 023. And the reports officially have been sent out. And I want to believe Barbara signed this report April 18, certifying that you guys have done so good. Next slide. So what are the components? What are the planning product of this review that we did? Mostly UPWP, we emphasize on that, and we discuss APR2 in that context. MTP, we reviewed that during the course of this process. and the statewide transportation improvement program. Mostly we deal with TIP as far as this MPO is concerned. And what we do is look at the annual project listing too. And the final part of this checkpoint planning product is we had contact with you guys. We had meetings, we had emails sharing, we have physical coming down and all that. At this point, that's what we did to ensure that we get feedback that we could use to write the report up. Next one. Now, I remember I told you there's good news, and I want to share the good news. So based on our review, which is 2023 review, FHWA, we determined that you have complied with 23 USC 134 and 49 USC 5303, 5305. Let me don't bother you with those academic legislation that I want to share. In essence, what we're trying to do, we can conveniently tell you guys that you have comprehensively addressed major issue in your plan. You have cooperatively done something nice with your expertise process, and we can say continually you have done something right. In other words, because something 3C in planning, you have satisfied those requirements, and therefore the review is concluded and conclusive that you guys have done good. I think you deserve a round of applause for that. All right.
We'll circulate a little champagne after.
Next. Now, when a review like this is conducted, we usually have a recommendation, commendation, and all that. For the TMA reviews, like the chair asked, it could be more intense. We could make some more suggestive thing as far as recommendation and all that is concerned. But for this case, we have recommended that the MPO website needs to put the latest annual performance and expenditure reports on their website. That would be so nice for public to see, because all this is all about making public to know what is going on within this group. And we also recommended that the transportation improvement program, which is the state project, authorization, selection procedures, should also be published too. We noticed that those are not represented on the website. And the whole exercise is all about letting the public know what's going on so that they know the MPO is transparent in that case. So we recommended that. The next one. Now, we want to commend again the MPO for the website organization, clarity, easy of navigation, and relevance. What does that mean? We say that your website is so easy to navigate. We can close our eyes and find out things about this MPO without, we look at so many stuff within other MPO, and we found out that yours is a good example that we could copy in text, as far as Texas is concerned. Next one. So let's go through the summary. Enhanced planning review, attendees, representative from, we have the representative from the MPO, we have people that come from TxDOT and Waco Transit System. Remember, this is joint review by the state, by the FTA and FAWA. So we had our members also here. I think Barbara was the one that represented FAWA, and FTA was represented too. Another note of worthy that we need to really present to you today, that although not explicitly requested of the MPO, a formal presentation was generously provided by them. The presentation was about over 125 pages, and we are so grateful for that kind of presentation coming from the MPO. We are grateful for that, and we really commend you guys for doing that for us. Next one. Yeah. So moving forward, Barbara is stepping down, and I'm stepping in. So I have my contacts. I'm a community planner, and Tony Oboli is a community planner with FTA, and I need to really register this. Tony Oboli really sent his greetings, and because of some circumstances beyond his control, he will not be able to attend today's meeting, and he really asked me to do this on his behalf. So that's about it. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate you having me here. And if you have questions, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Babatunde, thank you so much for your presentation. It's always good to start off with wonderful news. And so we thank you for being here. Please give Tony our regards. We look forward to working with him as well and meeting him in person. But big kudos to MPO staff for, sounds like passing this with flying colors based on your summary here. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'll just echo Councilman Porter there, and I appreciate staff. It sounds like you guys are way ahead of what we are trying to get done there. With great feedback from sort of an outside agency. So that's fantastic. I appreciate you coming to Waco and look forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. Right. Let's move on now to agenda item 6, update discussion on 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, call for proposals. Dr. Lamar.
So the 2050 MTP that we are working on, and this is the roadmap that we have been using, and we actually plan to go ahead and use this roadmap on large poster for all the public meetings that we'll be organizing throughout for the rest of the year, so that this is also gives us an opportunity to educate the public about what we do every 5 years and such. And so we'll be doing this. Right now we're in stage 5, which is the project solicitation and evaluation. And the MTP steering committee has been working very diligently for well over 8 months now into making sure that our evaluation criteria reflect the regional vision statement that that you all crafted in the October. And so right now, by June 21st, we will expect the project solicitation period to complete. In the month of July, we'll do the evaluation. So that's the stage we're on. Next slide.
Kudos to the graphic design for putting a computer-generated Alico in there, among other local.
March 25th is when we opened the call for proposal. April 4th meeting, at that point in time, we did a workshop and final category of weighting that was approved by the policy board on April 18th. And sometimes it feels like when you ask people to do some work, that the decision criteria that you all waited on, I can't help you how exciting it was to see that well over 34 responses out of potential 45. And so for all the geeky nerds, that's 95% confidence that we got the weighting right within 6.5 points. So which is amazing result. And so thank you all for doing that. April 18th, we policy board approved the final weighting criteria. We did the second workshop on May 2nd. June 21st is the final date by which time we expect all the proposals to be submitted through the decision lens. We'll have the month of July, all of July in for evaluation. What we are anticipating at this point in time is roughly between 30 to 50 projects to be submitted. That evaluation project will evaluate. We anticipate that it will take a good bit of time. So our evaluation team will be required to put in quite a few hours in order to do this well. And we have a few people who have already volunteered, and we'll bring this up toward the end of the meeting again to have your thoughts in it as well. Next slide. So we have completed, part of the process was to have one-on-one meetings with every city and TechStart and the MPO staff. We have concluded all of those meetings. And at this point in time, we have gone over almost every project that cities have been contemplating And I'm sure that the cities may think of a few more projects as possible, but we expect them to be submitted by June 21st. We had a really wonderful meeting. This meeting couldn't have gone better. In fact, the feedback have been fantastic. And so there is one meeting remaining that we want to schedule, and that's the coordination meeting among cities of Hewitt, McGregor, Waco, and Woodway, and McLennan County. And the purpose of that meeting is largely that there are several projects that have come up where these projects not only overlap right at the boundaries of several of these cities. US 84 is a major connection point which ends up covering 4 different units, as well as McLennan County and Hewitt Drive also. And one of the items, Hewitt Drive itself, that we had mentioned at the last meeting, that it is very much possible, the final list is not out yet, but it is very much possible that preliminary numbers suggest that Hewitt Drive between Sun Valley and US 84 is going to be on the top 100 most congested roadway segment in Texas list. It's not necessarily the best list to be on, but what it does do is it gets TxDOT Commission's attention, and TxDOT Commission often pays very close attention to how to make sure that these projects are addressed. So Hewitt Drive currently in 2045, it was not listed as one of the higher priority items, although MPO had done feasibility study in both Valley Mills as well as Hewitt Drive in the past, and so there is quite a bit of work that's already done in that case, but we're expecting that one to become a prominent report. So we will be coordinating that meeting among the cities of Waco, Woodway, McGregor, and Hewitt and McLennan County soon. One more item we wanted to mention is that in the MTP, not all the projects need to be federally funded that are listed in the MTP. A lot of the projects in MTP are also regionally significant projects. These are projects that are locally funded, in which there is no expectation of Category 2 funding. However, ensuring that these projects are in MTP provides additional advantage for other types of competitive funding that may be available. So whether they are TA projects or whether they are EDSIP projects, having them in MTP has quite a bit of advantage to it. So we have been encouraging every city to, along with projects that are on TxDOT or federal right-of-ways, also submit projects that are of local significance. And the other item, last item, very important one that we wanted to update you on is, so we intend, one of the things that we, in order to prepare for the TMS status in 8 years, in fact, announcements will be immediately after the 2030 census. And we anticipate us to be a TMA at that point in time. So one of the important changes that will occur relates to transit. And so we want to set a few things in place right now. So in this current MTP, what we are looking for is for the MPO policy board to in fact spend a bit more time than what you have already into considering that how transit can actually serve the needs of the future generation and what would that need actually look like. And that discussion is what will end up driving what the transit needs to be like. The other point we want to change into this MTP is that we have been talking about this technical gobbledygook called integrated mobility spaces. And what we want to do effectively is that instead of thinking of transit as a way to get a lot of people in a bus from point A to point B, transit does a whole lot more than that. Transit, in fact, actively enhances all the dead public spaces that we have. And that contribution is a much better way of thinking about transit, how the transit stops, the buses themselves, how the way they function is a significant upgrade of the quality of public spaces themselves. And so we would like to treat transit from that perspective rather than simply one of the many modes of transportation. And we also want to make sure that the transit is fully aligned with the regional vision that is already adopted by the policy board. And so the way we are doing this is, and we have had significant detailed discussion on this during the MTP steering committee, is that all the transit projects, we will not be prioritizing them in any manner based on what the weighting criteria is. All the transit projects that are proposed, we will consider them as part of the MTP. At this point in time, we have 3 projects that are being considered and revised. And we wanted to mention that One of the projects that early existed in the where the Intermodal Center is for the Waco Transit, that location to be developed more from the transit-oriented development approach rather than simply an operational center. And we are also we'll have another project related to the implementation of the fixed route realignment study that was completed. And there is a commuter route that has been discussed over time between Waco downtown and McGregor, which stops along the way. And that discussion, that project is also going to move into the next MTP as is. But most importantly, what we want to make sure is that our MTP considers transit in its entire regional context rather than just another mode of transportation, because public transit is not just another mode of transportation. It is a very active and risking a bit of exaggeration, there is no great city anywhere in the world that does not have great public transit. So if we have any aspiration to be great, it is important that we have a corresponding level of transit associated with it. The last thing I wanted to mention is, so what we will plan to do is structurally for the next MTP is that we'll have a standalone chapter on transit in which we will discuss transit within that context of integrated mobility spaces. And also we want to make sure that we also discuss them thoroughly with what kinds of changes we will have with the change in the TMA status for us. And most importantly, we have roughly about 6 years to prepare, but what we expect is in the next MTP, the one after that will follow this up, we'll actually have a fundamentally different vision for transit in that. In this MTP, we want to set all the stage and the basics of what needs to occur so that we can rethink what transit needs to look like to serve a future generation. That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions or concerns regarding this presentation or the 2050 MTP call for proposals?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to say that thank you, Mukesh, for the attention to transit as we move to prepare for TMA status. It will be important in how we look at how transit bus and also bus transit is provided throughout the region, not just how it's supposed to go. We have some pieces in place today, but that will likely need to expand as we move.
Okay, let's move to agenda item number 7. As the storm gathers here around us, update and discussion from staff regarding current grant efforts.
So can't thank the policy board enough to making time for the special meeting on April 29th, because with that we adopted the comprehensive safety action plan. We were actually of 4 different MPO directors that I'm regularly in touch with, who all have been working on their comprehensive safety action plan. We were the first one to do it, and so we beat them all to it. But the most importantly, in the current year of the 2024 SS4A grant, in order to be eligible for submitting implementation grant, it was important that we had the CSAP completed and adopted by the policy board by April 30th. We are grateful for our consultant who are working on the project to actually pull together a team to complete the entire work, and every city pulled in all the staff members to make sure that we had all the projects that we needed to discuss. So it was a wonderful joint effort. We finished comprehensive safety action plan in roughly about 4 months. It's almost a record time for a project to be completed of that magnitude. But we did it. And so at this point in time, we know that we have 2 of our cities who have turned in implementation grants for this year, City of Belmead and City of Robinson. And so we are hopeful that both of them receive it. One of the items that we are doing is for the FY 2023 that we received, we will, that is about to be executed, not executed, the grant agreement is completed. And so we have had, it is ready to move forward. And the FY 2024, we submitted our proposal from the MPO for a supplemental planning and demonstration project grant. The idea of what we are proposing is to complete a sign inventory for entire county. And also we we have selected 5 different locations where within the roadway segments ranging from 1.5 miles to I think 4.5 miles, the longest segment. Whatever deficient signage are, we'll replace them, and for 1 year we'll be collecting data on them. And our expectation, we're setting the target that in those areas, within a year, we expect the crashes and the severe injuries to decline by at least 50% and hopefully eliminate fatalities altogether. And that would be fantastic. That's the ones that we have already submitted, and we're also getting very close to executing the grant on the smart network corridor as well. One of the next slide. One of the important ones that we wanted to make sure that we put on everyone's radar is the Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program. This one allows for better connectivity, but one of the important points is that Parks and Rec departments, which already tend to have trails programs and such, or public works departments in several cities, where you do have some active projects that are going on with different active transportation projects. This is a wonderful opportunity. It is going to be somewhat competitive, but on the nice part is that it also includes planning and design and construction that can be included as part of the project itself. For FY 2024, we have a distribution of $44.5 million, and all the local governmental entities are eligible to apply. So please encourage, if you have a Parks and Rec department, please encourage them to use this. This is a really wonderful opportunity to move forward with this. Or if the Parks and Recreation trails are all in the Public Works Division, please encourage them to look into this as well. That's cool.
We all think about umbrellas and heading to the parking lot. We are now going to. Power's holding is good. We're going to move on to the Technical Advisory Committee update. Amy, are you here to present? All right.
Afternoon, everybody. I just want to say one nice thing about the tech committee now is that attendance is really picking up, not only in the number of people, but in the breadth of the people who are coming from different smaller cities and from our working groups like BikePed and other interested parties. So it's really nice that the tech committee is becoming a more and more integral part of the planning process. We did discuss 25 to 28 tip in greater detail than you did, and moved it forward for your approval. We discussed the call for proposals as well in great detail, and got some feedback from the cities who have already met with cash, including Waco. It was a little overwhelming, I have to say, but I'm excited about it. And then we got the ever important update from Clayton on the tech stop projects, which everyone looks forward to every month. So that's exactly the answer. And that's about it. Right? I didn't even look at what you put up there.
Any questions for Amy about Technical Advisory Committee TAC business? All right, well, we get to move on now to the equivalent of the MPO kind of Sports Center top 10, the TxDOT Waco area project updates. Clayton, what you got for us?
We pretty much watched it rain for the last 4 weeks. Not much update from the last meeting because of that. So, move on to the first project, Spring Valley, still continuing to work on the west half of the roadway. Sun Valley down to Hewitt Drive, mainly focused on removing old pavement and installing storm drain. North half of the project, completing curb and gutter, getting ready to work on flex space and get pavement going there, on track for completion late this year. University Parks, big thing is continuing to work on the subgrade widening on the southern half of the roadway, along with completing the bridge work at Primrose Creek. Tentatively looking at getting the first half of the bridge opened up end of this month. That'll let us demo the remaining half of the old structure, completed out. We should work on the valley or the LaSalle and U Parks, the new signals, probably beginning of June. Now the school's out, we can get in there, get the old signals pulled out, put the new ones in, get all the pedestrian elements installed, but on track for that completion end of the calendar year. Mall to Mall is primarily in the cleanup phases. We'll walk through the photos. Bagby should have new signals cut over end of this month, first part of June, get that intersection wrapped up. Moving to the west, here's primarily a cleanup area, getting front slopes with sod established, and again, just clean up. Moving to the U-turns closest to Beverly, some concrete riprap, vegetation establishment, pretty much wrapped up here as well. Industrial, Imperial, again, just some finished grading and sod. Here we're at the Oxygen U-turn, again, just a little bit of concrete flat work to complete under the bridge structures. And then some riprap primarily along the southern half of the roadway there. And then at 84, the detour you see at the bottom of the page is gone. We've got one drainage connection to make, complete our front slopes there, get sod established, and that one's wrapped up. A couple of projects we've got going on, State Highway 6, Millen Inleg, and this is from Riesel, headed south down into Robertson County. Big Creek is working on it. We started it last month. Continue to make fairly good progress there. Kind of split into two projects. Riesel just into Falls County, and then the southern end of Falls County into Robertson. Primarily focusing on the north half right now, but that project will wrap up late this year. Our Bellmead Drive and 340 overlay, again, this is from I-35 up to US 84 on Bellmead Drive. Loop 340 is from New Dallas around to Williams, primarily working on guard fence upgrades and some drainage structure, safety and treatment type work. Later this month, first part of June, we'll start our night work with paving operations there, and that will continue through the fall. And then another project that's not up here, I know the 2311 and 31 project was mentioned earlier. That did go out for bids earlier this month. Big Creek was the apparent low bidder there. So hopefully the next coming month or the next couple of months, I've got an idea on schedule that'll be added to the list too. That, any questions?
Appreciate all the good work. Thanks so much. Right, moving on to our next agenda item, any work group updates?
So we have Enrique to give us an update from Bike Ped work group meeting that we just had yesterday.
Yeah, so it's Prakash said you back yesterday. We did about a 6.5 mile bike ride up and down Washington Avenue, down to Cameron Park, where we had the meeting. We discussed a couple of things. One being that this month, May is bike month. This week currently is bike to work week, and tomorrow, Keller all is bike to work day. So you guys had the opportunity get to work on bike. We also discussed a lot of the stuff that you guys, especially today, going along with planning effort. We nominated Andrew Tella from the Bike Group to represent Bike on the evaluation committee. Then we also discussed some of the grant programs, the company safety action plan, some of these implementation grants, including some of the demonstration projects that that's about pretty much it.
Any questions for the Bike and Ped?
For the CAF meeting, CAF Connected Automated Vehicle Work Group, can you move to 2 more slides, please? For Connected Automated, one of the important updates we have is, so the NEVI group at TxDOT has reached out to all the MPOs to start scheduling the first round of meetings on the discussion for the next round of NEVI funding, which will be the charging infrastructure at the local level. So the total funding has been set for each MPO, and we are anticipating roughly about, if I recall correctly, about $2.1 million, which includes about $500,000 for operations and maintenance. And so the preliminary discussion will start. And during the CAB meeting, we're in the process of finalizing a white paper, which will help us drive what the planning process for the charging infrastructure is going to look like under the NEVI funding. Jump to the next.
All right, let's go to MPO monthly report.
So right now we submitted the supporting resolutions from cities of Waco, Hewitt, and County Board of Supervisors. And at this point in time, in fact, this update is Todd, if you had anything you wanted to add to this, as you were putting the application together to send to the governor's office. So
yeah, we haven't sent over to the general counsel right now. Our division within TxDOT, GCD, they're reviewing it and should have it back to us by next week. So wrapping up the final steps and soon to go to the governor's office and when they come upon.
So our planning agreement is due in September, and most likely the indication is that it's going to get extended rather than a completely new agreement. For a couple of other things we wanted to mention is, let's go to the monthly report. Yes. We, for the MTP evaluation team, we have Zane and Amy from TAC and both MTP steering committee have generously agreed to serve on this evaluation team. And as we mentioned before, we are anticipating between 30 to 50 projects, and we calculated the number of hours it will take them at least 30 minutes to evaluate each project. And so we are looking at minimum of 15 to as many as 25 hours of commitment. And this is a really huge commitment. We're grateful for this. Eric Kaufman, who is on the MTP steering committee as well as represents the connected automated vehicle, Andrew Tellep. We also would like to add at least 2 more persons to the committee. 1 person to represent smaller cities as well as 1 person from TxDOT. So we will be recruiting them, and we would like your feedback if you would like us to add any more people on the evaluation team. And the reason why we want to emphasize that 30 to 50 projects is because that time commitment really is important. It's a major, significant commitment you'll be making by serving on this evaluation team. So any thought we are welcome. Do you think we should add more people than what we have listed here?
Feel
This
free to
is-
self-nominate.
Yes.
This is also a good time to nominate someone who did not come today.
So on that note.
This is the way it works, you know?
Okay, great.
I'll volunteer for the small cities.
Thank you.
Great. The next announcement we have is a pretty important one. Next slide, please. So we will be 50 years old this year. And so since September is the month when we do the planning agreement, and so we thought that it would be fantastic to have the September 19th meeting as the luncheon meeting. And so what we are proposing to do is to have a 50th anniversary luncheon here at 11:30 a.m. So we will gather here at 11:30. We'll have about 30 minutes of festivities of different sort, and our policy board chair had generously agreed to MC the entire proceedings that day. And at 12 o'clock, we will have lunch here, and we'll then immediately get into the policy board meeting at 1:30. One of the requests we have from each one of you is that in your respective cities, it will be great to have proclamations at your council meetings as well as Board of Supervisors meeting, recognizing the 50 years of work that Waco MPO has been doing in the region. And so we are really excited about this effort. If there is any particular addition to the luncheon event that you would like, please let us know. At the staff, we have started preparing for it. We have been looking into the task policy board members as per background. The records will let us, and so we will September 19th. So please put it on your calendar today so that we do not have any schemes later.
I'm doing that right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councilmember Ewing, do you think we should make commemorative tumblers for the MPO, or do you think we should avoid that custom?
I need another tumbler, I need another whole
But don't you think it would be more ecological if we had about 25 more tumblers made?
Remember the umbrella.
An umbrella, yeah, maybe an umbrella, given the rate of rainfall. All right, well, looking forward to it. And hopefully we can celebrate MPO policy board members past and present, staff past and present, and have some good food and reflect on our good work.
Will y'all create the proclamation, or should I have my staff get in touch with y'all about that?
We're happy to draft it or work with your staff.
Okay. That'd be great if y'all can draft it. Well, I can just run it through.
Yeah, we can do, yeah, we'll make sure that. One last item we wanted to update you on, and is that we want to just give you a preview of how this year's MTP is going to look very different from what we have done so far. So one of the important component of MTP we decided this year was that we will have a story map of what the MTP is, and it will also cover the essence of the MTP. And so we wanted to give you a preview of what that story map is going to look like. And so we'll have Arthur just be walking through that.
Got too much stuff in the way. Let's see if I can get to it. Oh, here we go. So here's the MTP story map. I'll just give a quick overview. Here's a quick paragraph about what the MPO is and what we do. Here's an introduction to the MTP. Going into the development process, you can tell we take pride and joy in our graphic here. You'll see it a few more times as we go through each of the steps that we've taken so far. Just a quick summary of the brainstorm approach and scope. Summary of the public listening session. Summary of the regional visioning workshop, and then here's the vision statement that came out of that workshop, as well as this nice photo. Here you can see a few familiar faces. Call for proposal / project evaluation framework. And there's also a link to the framework here, and here's the weights that were assigned to each of the criteria. Next is the project solicitation / evaluation. So just a quick summary of that. We haven't gotten into the public meetings just yet, but once we get further into that process, we'll add more information here, and as well as the final MTP for 2050. And then we move on to the regional trends, cover population trends, which was also mentioned in the the TDM. Travel demand model. I'm so used to acronyms that I don't get the actual terms sometimes.
Is that acronym TDM?
TDM.
That's a rough one right there. Maybe on point too.
TDM?
TDM. That's better.
And then we move over to daily trips, regional trends, congestion trends, safety trends, and we have the dashboard that was created by the consultant for the comprehensive safety action plan. And then lastly, the technology. So yeah, that's what this is a quick draft. We noticed that there's a lot of images of Waco, so we're gonna include more diversity among the cities within the county to represent everyone here. So yeah, that's what we have so far.
One of the things that we have already decided that we're about to surprise Clayton with this, that we would like to have all the drone photos, which are super hit in this meeting all the time, and try to use some of those videos actually and embed them into our MTP, our story map. So the most important point we wanted to make is that for this current MTP, we want to make sure that the representation and how we engage with the public is a lot more visual graphics heavy rather than text heavy. We want to reduce the text, most of the text to the appendix. And so what we are anticipating, we have roughly set the target of roughly about 50 pages of main body of the MTP. Everything else will be in appendix. And the summary of the MTP will be done through the story map, the way we just give you a preview of it.
Any other staff update? Okay, we will move to our announcements. The next regularly scheduled MPO Policy Board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 20th, 2024 at 1:30. I believe after that, we'll have a 2-month break until our September luncheon and meeting. Is that right? If you cannot attend the meeting, please ensure that you have assigned a proxy to represent you. Does anyone have an agenda item they would like to be considered for a future meeting? All right, hearing none, we will move to our hearing of visitors. At this time, we provide an opportunity for the public to address the MPO Policy Board on any.
One more announcement.
Oh, one more announcement. Oh, yeah.
So Daniela couldn't be here because she had some children emergency that she needed to attend to. However, we are really proud of her for having completed her undergraduate degree, and she just graduated.
Hearing of visitors, at this time, we provide an opportunity for the public to address the MPO policy board on any item of MPO business not identified on this agenda. Is there anyone here who would like to speak, or do we have any registered speakers?
No.
We will open and close the hearing of visitors at 2:30. No hearing of grievances today, and move on to adjournment. Being no further business, we will adjourn the meeting, both of the MPO Policy Board and of the Waco City Council, and also at 2:30 p.m. Good luck out there.
We still made it pretty
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was good efficient timing. Well, there weren't a lot of action. That's a good idea. We need to like start conceptually, because I think right now, like I kind of think of this as planes, trains. It's like it's very literal. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be something a little more conceptual in terms of the graphic design that they can. This is